Hey everyone, and welcome back to more political chatter. In this video, we will be talking about the 2022 Senate map. So this is my updated prediction for October 27th, 2022, and there are only 12 days until Election Day. In just 12 days, voters across the country will turn out, vote for who they want as their governor, as their congressperson, as their senator, as their state senator, state rep, all these different races. People will be voting, and it really is coming right down to the wire. So, the Senate is currently split 50-50, with Democrats having control as they have Kamala Harris, the vice president, as the tie-breaking vote. And I believe that the Republican Party will take back control of the Senate. This is the first time that I've thought this, really since very early of this year. I've had Democrats winning the Senate, I think every video that I've made on this channel of my Senate forecasts. However, after my changed characterization of Pennsylvania, I do believe that Republicans will hold that seat, will hold Pat Toomey's seat, and they will win majority of the Senate. So let's get right into it. So if you don't know, on this channel, we always start with the safe Democratic states. So that's Hawaii, Brian Schatz, Ron Wyden in Oregon, Alex Padilla in Colorado. That's Chuck Schumer in New York. That's Richard Blumenthal in Connecticut. Peter Welch in Vermont. Chris Van Hollen in Maryland, and Tammy Duckworth in Illinois. And then we go into safe Republican states. And if you don't know, safe is a 15% more or margin for the candidate that wins the state. Mike Crapo in Idaho. Really, Mike Lee in Utah will be winning by a safe margin, even though Evan McMullin will come very close to making it likely. He's running a pretty good campaign there. But at the end of the day, Ohio is really a very Republican state, and Evan McMullin might be a conservative, a former Republican, but he really won't come very close to victory. We have John Hoeven in North Dakota, John Thune in South Dakota, Jerry Moran in Kansas, James Langford in Oklahoma. Oklahoma has a special election this year due to the retirement of one of their senators. Markwayne Mullin will pick up that seat. Well, not pick it up for the party, but, he'll become the next senator from Oklahoma. We have John Kennedy in Louisiana. We have John Boozman in Arkansas. Eric Schmidt will win his first term in Missouri. Rand Paul in Kentucky. Indiana, we have Todd Young. Katie Britt is in Alabama. Lisa Murkowski in Alaska. And Tim Scott in South Carolina. So, these are all the safe states in my predictions, and that would give the Republican Party 44 seats and the Democrats 44 seats. You can just see how split and how close these Senate elections in 2022 will be. So now let's move on to likely Democratic states. So this is a margin of 5 to 15%. First off is the state of Washington. We have Patty Murray, who is a Democratic incumbent running for another term. Her opponent, Tiffany Smiley, is running a pretty good campaign. She's seen as more of a moderate Republican rather than a MAGA Republican, and she's running a great campaign. However, at the end of the day, Washington went to Biden by a safe margin. It is a very Democratic state. So even though Patty Murray is a poor candidate and Tiffany Smiley is a great candidate, Washington is just so Democratic where Tiffany Smiley won't come close. At the end of the day, Patty Murray will win in the state of Washington. And the same goes for Colorado. Really the exact same thing. Except that the Democrat, Michael Bennet, the incumbent, is also very popular, along with the Republican, Joe O'Dea. O'Dea is running a great campaign for Colorado, seen as the most moderate Republican candidate for Senate this year. And he is very popular in the state of Colorado. He's gotten national attention recently also for saying that he would campaign against Trump if Trump ran for president in 2024. But Michael Bennet is also a very popular senator. He's very much approved of in his state. And I really don't see Democrats who approve of Michael Bennet voting for Joe O'Dea. I really don't, especially in a state that Biden won by 13. At the end of the day, Bennet will win by probably around 8, I'd say. Um, Republicans are now putting some money back into Don Bolduc in New Hampshire, but I'm going to keep my likely characterization for the state of New Hampshire. I think that Maggie Hassan is a really good candidate for a moderate state like New Hampshire, and Don Bolduc. Sorry, I dropped my microphone. And Don Bolduc is not a good candidate for a moderate state like New Hampshire, as he is an election denier, all this stuff. So even though Republicans might be funding Don Bolduc significantly, he won't come that close. I see Hassan winning by 5 to 6. And that will wrap it up for our likely Democratic states. And we're on to likely Republican states. Number 1 is the state of Iowa. I think that this one will be close to being a 15% margin, which would make it safe. Probably around 13 or 14. We have Chuck Grassley here, who's been in the Senate since like 1980 or 1984 or something. He is very, I won't even say popular, but he is just legendary, I guess you can say, in Iowa politics. And there really isn't a chance of him losing. I went to Trump by 8. Grassley will exceed those margins. Just that the opponent, Mike Franken or Al Franken, I forget which one. I think Mike Franken. He's not a horrible candidate, but at the end of the day, Chuck Grassley is not losing this race. And the second and last likely Republican state is the state of Florida, one that I think most election predictors have had it as likely Republican like these entire midterms. Like, it has not changed. Marco Rubio is a very popular senator. Val Demings is running a fine campaign, but Florida went to Trump by 3. Rubio has exceeded Trump margins, presidential margins all times he ran. And with Biden being very unpopular in Florida, I don't really see how Marco Rubio could possibly lose this election. He's winning by 9%. And that will wrap it up. So we move on to lean states here for the Democratic Party. So these are any states with a 1 to 5% margin. So let's start off with the Democrats. The first state is Arizona. I just saw a video of Chuck Schumer saying that he was worried about the Democrats' chances in Arizona and that he was gaining confidence in Nevada and Pennsylvania. It's the exact opposite. Blake Masters did very well in the debate that occurred, but that wasn't enough to change this race. The characterization might have changed in my predictions from lean to tilt, but it's back at lean. I don't see how the debate, which was the only great thing that happened to the Blake Masters campaign, could shift the race to him. Blake Masters is just too extreme for a Biden state. We have to remember that Arizona went to Biden. It might have went to Romney by a safe margin. Might have went to Trump in 2016 by 7 or 6, whatever it was. But in 2020, it went to Biden by a tilt margin. So if Blake Masters is running an extremist campaign, anti-abortion and election fraud campaign against a pretty strong and popular Democratic incumbent, I mind you, he's not going to win. Now, it's different on the gubernatorial side. We might have even a slightly more extreme gubernatorial candidate, Kari Lake. However, the Democratic nominee is not an incumbent, and she is an extremely weak candidate. She's running a horrible campaign. So it is much different with Mark Kelly as the Democrat. And shockingly, I think this is the first time in a while that I have not had any other lean Democratic states. It is just Arizona for right now. So I suppose we move on to lean Republican states, and there are quite a few of lean Republican states. Number 1 is this. Well, I'll go in order of who cares. I believe that Ron Johnson will win re-election by 4% in 2022. He is not a perfect candidate, of course. If we're talking perfect candidates, we're talking Republican incumbents in safe Republican states like North and South Dakota or Kansas or Oklahoma, whatever. But Wisconsin did go to Joe Biden in 2020. However, it did go to Trump in 2016, but it only went to Biden because of his moderate stance. Biden ran in 2020 as a moderate unifier. The Democrat in this race in 2022, Mandela Barnes, is far more progressive than Joe Biden. Okay, far more progressive. He's running less of a restore the soul of the nation or whatever, battle for the soul of the nation or whatever campaign. And he's running more of a, let's get Ron Johnson out of office. We need a new generation. We need new progressive policies. That's not what white working class voters in Wisconsin want to hear. They want to hear a moderate or a conservative, because their big issue is the economy. A progressive like Mandela Barnes isn't going to talk about the economy that much. I think that Ron Johnson will definitely be able to win this race. The second lean Republican state is the state of Ohio, that J.D. Vance should be winning by 10 right now, as it went to Trump by 8 in 2020. However, he simply is not. I see this race going to him by 4% this year. It's just that Tim Ryan is running an excellent campaign, and J.D. Vance is not. J.D. Vance is running more of an unserious campaign, and Tim Ryan is making it known that he's with Donald Trump and not Ohio. Tim Ryan is saying things like, he kisses up to Trump, and that J.D. Vance kisses up to Trump, of course, and he does not. Tim Ryan stands up for Ohio, all this stuff, and Tim Ryan does have a very moderate appeal in the state of Ohio. He's well known. He was a representative in a swing district for few terms. He ran for president in 2020. You can't be an unpopular representative and run for president, okay? No unpopular representative would run for president. But at the end of the day, Ohio is not going blue, okay? Sherrod Brown is going to lose in 2024, because he got really lucky in the year that he ran, 2018, a blue wave year. So in 2022, Sherrod Brown might have won, especially because he's an incumbent in 2018. But in 2022, Democrats don't really have a shot at Ohio. The third lean Republican state is the state of North Carolina. I see Ted Budd winning by around 4 to 5%. I'd say like 4.5%, pretty close to being likely, honestly. Ted Budd is one of the better candidates that the Republicans nominated in swing states this year. He's really good for North Carolina. He's Trump endorsed. He'll turn out those Trump voters, but has a much more moderate appeal than Donald Trump when it really comes down to it. Democrats will be, and independents will be, much more open to voting for Ted Budd than Donald Trump in 2024. Cheri Beasley might be okay candidate. Really not for North Carolina, though. Maybe if we're talking like Michigan or like a Democratic state like Illinois or New York, then she'd be a pretty good candidate. But in North Carolina, her her liberal rhetoric and things she talks about, they're at the end of the day, they're going to be too liberal for North Carolina. Let's move on to this Till state. So, in my last Senate prediction, I had one state as Till, that being the state of Pennsylvania. And now, I'm changing that one Till state to 3 Till states, which is really insane. In my last prediction, I had all of these states, as you can see, it was the same. Nevada, lean red. Georgia, lean blue. Pennsylvania, tilt blue. And now they will all become tilt states. So let's start off with the state of Nevada. I do believe, I'm not going to switch my characterization from blue to red. That's absurd to do. Going from lean to tilt of the other, lean Republican to tilt Democrat. You would have to have it at tilt at some point, and then go to tilt Democrat. So this one, I definitely see Adam Laxalt as a good candidate for Nevada. That Laxalt name is very well known here. Polls are showing Adam Laxalt winning. However, Nevada does have a brief history of polls slightly favoring Republicans in elections. They did in 2016. They did in 2018. Not so much 2020. I'm not really using that so much for my prediction, as if I did just based off of that, I would give the incumbent Catherine Cortez Masto, the Democrat, the win. I'm not saying that Catherine Cortez Masto is a bad candidate. It's just that Adam Laxalt is a better one for 2022. He's talking about inflation a lot, an issue that voters really care about. While some candidates like Don Bolduc in New Hampshire and even Ron Johnson in Wisconsin sometimes, they talk about the election, something that that voters don't really care about. But Adam Laxalt is talking about the right things. I think that he's a pretty good candidate, and he is on track to win in November. The second tilt state is the state of Georgia. I'm going to give this race to Raphael Warnock, and I'm going to reduce his win from lean to tilt. I think the debates are kind of wearing off, if that makes sense. Voters are just kind of forgetting about it as time goes on, which would help Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker, the Republican, did very bad in the debates. And after the debates, I gave Raphael Warnock, the Democratic incumbent running for re-election, I changed my characterization from tilt to lean. But now I'm changing it back to tilt because I don't think that debate is going to have an effect now as it did right after the debate. Voters are going to kind of forget about that. So that is why I have changed I have changed it from lean to tilt. But I do believe that Raphael Warnock is still on track to win. Herschel Walker just seems kind of dumb to most people, especially if we're talking like people in the Northeast. But where people are more liberal. But still in Georgia, he's not going to come across as the smartest kind of guy, and not really a moderate either. Remember, Georgia went to Biden. If Herschel Walker is making all these allegations about election fraud in Georgia, most people won't believe that. There are a lot of independents in Georgia, and those independent voters are the ones that you'll have to win. If Herschel Walker is talking about this stuff, and Raphael Warnock is talking about, reviving the peanut industry in Georgia, then Raphael Warnock is on track to win. And the final state is the state of Pennsylvania, which, after the Senate debate that occurred, 2 nights ago, I gave it to Dr. Mehmet Oz. I believe that Dr. Oz will win this race, giving control of the Senate to the Republican Party. So I talked about this race a lot. You can watch my other videos for more in-depth analysis of the Pennsylvania Senate race. However, John Fetterman just performed so poorly in the debate that it looked like he was unfit to serve. Honestly, Dr. Oz has been saying this for a while, and voters, kind of brushed it off. But now, voters who watched the debate, they're going to be seriously concerned about Fetterman's health. He did not perform well. He did not speak okay. And that will be a major issue when voters cast their ballot. And I think that Oz did very well. He came across like more of a moderate than Fetterman makes him look like. Comes across as someone who wants to work with Democrats and Republicans and independents to get stuff done. Sounds like he cares about people, much more than prior to the debate. I think that voters learned a lot in the debate, and they'll keep that in mind come November. I think that the debate in Pennsylvania will have a much higher impact than the debate in Georgia, than the debate in Arizona, in Wisconsin, in Ohio, so forth. I think that the Pennsylvania debate will have the highest impact of any debate this year. So, as I said, I do believe that Republicans with the state of Pennsylvania, with Nevada, with Wisconsin, Ohio, North Carolina, and so on, will win control of the United States Senate this year. I think that this will flip to the Republican Party. I also think that the House of Representatives will go to the Republican Party. I find that kind of undeniable by now. I have a big election night coming out soon. Go on my channel to set that reminder for it. And that is going to be a huge election night with us, all Senate races, all governor races, and all remotely competitive House races. So, as I said, thanks for watching.